Hello, hello. My normal vibe is energetic and upbeat and generally happy. And that's the mood I like to have and spread around. But unfortunately, that's just not the vibe of today's video. This video is hard to make, and I've tried filming it several times. So just bear with me if you can.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
My aunt was in a coma recently, and that has been devastating for my whole family. So I'm going to share that with you today. If you have experienced something like this in your life, I am so incredibly sorry because this is so hard. So let's just get into this. There's no easy way to start this story, so I'm just gonna start talking. On a Wednesday evening, I was working and I was just about finished, and I got a call from my mom saying that she had received a call about her sister and that her sister had been found in her home, unresponsive, unconscious. CPR was administered and she was taken to the hospital. So basically she was due to show up for work. She never showed up for work. Her coworkers and people at her work became concerned because that's not like her. That's out of her usual behavior. She's someone that shows up to work early, like she's reliable. So if she doesn't show up and she doesn't let anyone know, that's a huge red flag. Luckily, the people that work with her know her well enough to know that something was different, and they called a wellness check. If a wellness check was not called, we might be in a different situation, a much worse situation than the situation is, and it's not a good one. She was taken to the hospital. We were notified about that, and none of my family lives near each other. We had to make arrangements that night to do some traveling. My mom traveled to me, and then in the very next morning, very early at like 4 o'clock in the morning, we left to travel to where my aunt lives. We arrived there at the hospital as the doctors were coming in. They placed her in ICU. They told us that she was in a coma and that she would need to be put on a ventilator because the status of her breathing was very distressed, and if she continued to breathe like that on her own, she would eventually tire out and succumb to that. Not only were we not really prepared for what we were walking into, but then to have to make life-changing decisions was very overwhelming. But we decided to put her on the ventilator and be proactive in that, and hopefully that would allow her body to rest and recover if she didn't have to struggle so hard to breathe on her own. Days went by on the ventilator. We would talk to her, but there was no response. They just kept telling us, just keep talking to her, maybe she can hear you. But days and days went by, and we were there morning to night, all day, as long as they would let us be there. One day they said that she wasn't producing enough urine, so that then they would need to start dialysis. That was also concerning for us because usually once you go on dialysis, you don't come off. But they told us that that would be most likely a short-term thing. They were going to run dialysis for 36 hours, and hopefully it would do what it needed to do and they would be able to stop it. We agreed to that, and then 36 hours went by and they said that they could stop the dialysis. So we were happy about that. They did a brain scan. They said as far as her brain looked, it was looking normal, but they were unsure of what her cognitive ability would be if and when she were to wake up. They started Glucerna, which is a liquid supplement, nutrition supplement. She was tolerating that. So we were excited, but she still had not woken up. Sometimes she would like open her eyes and it would be so exciting for us, but it was almost like she was looking through us instead of at us. And I don't think I mentioned what caused this, but my aunt is a diabetic. And when she was found, her sugar was in the 1200s. So this was a diabetic coma. They were being very real with us in that they weren't sure if she would wake up. And if she did, they weren't sure what that would look like. And then they decided to do what they call a sedation holiday, because she was in a coma but also sedated, because she was sometimes pulling at her all the tubes and stuff that she had going on. So to keep her comfortable, they were also sedating her. Said they were going to do a sedation holiday, which is where they start weaning you off of sedation to see what the level of response will be, to see if she will respond at all, to see if she might start waking up, to see if there's anything. And of course we want that, like we're hopeful, like, so of course we want the sedation holiday. But at this point we all have jobs that we have to return to, even though who can think about anything else in that moment except your family member? So we have to return back to work and continue with our own responsibilities. There are some family, like her parents who are retired and things like that, that were able to stay. So we were at least happy that someone could be there with her if she were to wake up during the sedation holiday. So they started weaning her off of sedation, and she did start becoming responsive. So they decided that they were going to remove her from the ventilator, because at that point they felt like she was responding enough to be able to at least comfortably breathe on her own. So that happened when we weren't there. She was still in the ICU for several days after that. We were able to FaceTime with her and things like that, but you could tell she was there. She knew who she was. She knew who we were, but she didn't know what happened. And the doctors told us she may have no recollection, no memory of what happened, of where she is, of what's going on. Like, she may not remember any of this, and that would be normal. So of course, when she wakes up, she has no idea why she's in the hospital, what happened. And for a while, we realized that she doesn't know where she is. It seemed like she had been hallucinating a lot, and it seems like she thought she was at a wedding. So she thought she was at a wedding for days, and her behavior was very far off baseline. Hard to watch. But as she came to, then they stepped her down from ICU and put her just on like a regular med surge. And she had some more tests, and she was there for a little while, and then she got to go home. We were really hoping that she would be discharged to like a nursing, like rehab facility, so that she could take more time to cognitively recover, because her brain and her mind still seemed like it was just not there completely. And it was concerning for us, knowing that she was going to be the one caring for herself because she lives alone and now she's discharged home, how that really is going to go. So we were really hoping that she would be discharged to like a nursing rehab facility, so she could have a longer recovery time and just have someone watching over her and like maintaining her medicines and things like that. But she was discharged home with a home healthcare nurse that comes every few days. I'm not really sure how that schedule works. So she gets discharged home. She's still not doing well. So she's home for about a day or two, and then she gets readmitted back into the hospital. Then she's back in the hospital, and she's there for about another week or so. She seems to be better. Talking to her on the phone and FaceTime and everything, she seems to be leveling out a little bit more. We're still concerned that she's being discharged home, but we're feeling a little less uneasy about it, a little bit more comfortable with it. Like, she was just in a coma a few weeks ago. This is a lot for her brain. The journey that this has been, I can't describe it. She goes back into the hospital. She was still very sick, and I was still very concerned about the road ahead. This has been such a long road, and sometimes feeling like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. But to know how strong she is and how hard she fought through all this. Her doctors and her nurses were phenomenal. They were always there letting us know the next steps, always willing to answer our questions. We can really not thank them enough. They absolutely saved her life. If you have diabetes, please take care of yourself, because what we have seen diabetes do to her life and her body is insane. She is strong, she is a fighter, and she's going to keep fighting. I'm happy to say that she is alive. She is recovering. Thank you for listening to my story today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And maybe I'll see you next time.